Sup guys? Fish. This game averages hundreds of thousands of concurrent players and was only published a couple months ago. Some people think that this is the greatest Roblox game of all time, and others prefer Go Fishing, or Fish It, or Big Fish Simulator. Wow, these people are not trying to hide the fact that they're copying at all. Anyway, these knockoff games are getting thousands of players, so I thought I'd try and make a Fish copy for myself. If you don't know what Fish is, you're probably living under a rock.
I'm sorry.
No. But in the game, you pretty much fish, sell those fish, buy fishing rods, and go to different islands. But I don't want to copy the game exactly because I might get sued. So instead of making Fish, I'm gonna make Dish. Now, you might be wondering, how are you gonna make this game if there's no such thing as dishing? But that's where you're wrong. Okay, you're not really wrong, but the player's just gonna dig into a sink for items, and that's my whole idea for the game. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is make a sink. Then we need to make it so the player can dig into the sink. And I'm not really good at making animations if you can't tell, but this will work for now. Anyway, whenever you're fishing in Fish, you have to click the circles and then play a mini game to actually get the fish. But Dish is not the same as Fish, okay? So don't get them mixed up. But I need a new mini game for Dish when you're trying to get items. Then I remembered this old mobile game I used to play called Pop the Lock. So I decided I was gonna remake their entire game. So I made this circle and then I made this white part. Then I made this line showing you when you can click. But there was a problem. Depending on the player's frame rate, the line would speed up if the frame rate was higher because I was moving the line every frame. So instead of moving it each frame, I only moved the line a set number of times per second. And this worked perfectly, but there's still no gameplay. So I started the mini game whenever you started digging in the sink. And I made it so whenever you click inside the white area, the line starts moving in the opposite direction and the white area moves. But this is pretty boring, so I need to spice it up. I spice it up? But no, seriously, why do these games use Ice Spice in the thumbnail? It doesn't make any sense. Maybe I should. First thing I did was make some original sound effects all by myself. Then I added some animations to the circle so it looks cooler. And if you just close your eyes, this just sounds like music to your ears. It's beautiful. But if you notice, it says combo whenever you click. And this will make sense later, but right now this minigame feels kind of short. No, stay away, no. Yeah, so I might have spent the last week studying for my finals, but let's get back to the game. After playing it some more, I realized I wanted to have the minigame harder for better items. So by using a bunch of formulas, I was able to scale the difficulty however I wanted. But I got a little distracted while playtesting, and I ended up playing it for way longer than I'd like to admit. But if you're watching this video to distract yourself from the outside world, then you should subscribe. Okay, thanks. For the next skill test, I made another circle and I just made it so that you had to click until it was full. But every few seconds, it would subtract from your score to make it seem like whatever item you're grabbing is getting away.
Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
I also made this one more or less difficult depending on the difficulty. And remember the combo from the first minigame? Well, depending on how many combos you get, it'll make the second minigame easier. And with the minigames done, I actually remembered I made a fishing game back in 2020. So if anyone's copying, it's not me. And this game actually has a shop with an NPC, so I was ahead of my time. But moving on, now that we have some high octane gameplay, there needs to be some rewards whenever you finish the minigames. And they actually call me Picasso Supdoggy, so I just chefed up some items that you can get from the sink, and I'd actually invest in these right now because there's a lot of high interest potential in these artworks. Trust me. But anyway, I ended up making 21 different items that you can unlock, and some of these ideas came from people in my Discord server, which you should join. I'm active all the time. But the final item is going to be the golden spork, which I'm going to use for the objective of the game. And here's a quick time lapse of every single item that's in the game, so if you want to pause it and just look at a random item, you can. So now that we have all these items, we need to make it so that you can unlock them in the game. And luckily for me, I actually made an RNG game before. So I just copied the RNG system from that game and I use it in this one. But right now, whenever you unlock an item, you don't actually get it in your inventory. So I had to make this tool that I would give the player and change the image of it depending on the item. Next, I wanted to make the map for the game since right now we just have 4 sinks. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that building is not one of my strong suits. Actually, I don't know if I have any strong suits, but luckily for us, we can just use Roblox parts to make the map. So I started off by building the layout and I decided I was going to make a restaurant because that's where most dishes are, I think. But after building the layout, I started putting the doors, and a lot of you guys were asking for the door system from my last video. So when the Discord hits 2,000 members, I'll release the system for free. But now, after becoming somewhat of an architect, I finished up the map, and here's what the whole thing looks like so far. And with this done, the game is looking pretty... But anyway, after throwing my life away fixing bugs, I realized that Fish had NPCs and Dish doesn't. So, I spent an unreasonable amount of time creating an NPC dialogue system that is easily usable across any model, looks super clean, and might make all this time spent worth it. Meet Hobo John. Don't mind the gray color and how he's naked, we'll fix that later. But anyway, he's the NPC you're gonna sell your items to get money. But you might be asking yourself, how are you selling items to a hobo? And that's where you're wrong, okay? That is very bad to judge people, but okay, no, you're actually not wrong, but just don't think about it too much. And now, after a little bit more code, you can now sell your items to Hobo John and you get money for it. But Hobo John is kind of lonely. Meet Fridge Frank. I bet you can't guess where he's gonna live. But basically, Fridge Frank is gonna sell you tools that you can use to dig into the sink with. But we didn't have any tools to use yet, so I made a few and here they are. And my personal favorite is your cousin's arm, which kind of sounds weird, but no, you're just using your cousin's arm to dig into the sink. Oh. Anyway, I put some clothes on the NPCs and animated them so they're not just great characters anymore, but now we have items to unlock, NPCs to talk to, and tools to get, but there's no real objective to the game. Meet Needy Steve. He's pretty much just gonna ask you for a golden spork, and when you give it to him, the game ends. I know. Pretty genius. But when you first join the game, it's pretty hard to know what to do if you haven't seen this video. So taking more inspiration from Fish, I made a quest system and you'll spawn in with different tasks that you have to complete. This will help the player know what to do when they first join the game. And making this work was actually pretty easy. I just made it so you have to put in a name for the quest, the value it's tracking, and the amount you have to get to complete the task. So say you have to dig in the sink 3 times, I just update it every time you dig in the sink. And once you do it 3 times, obviously the task is complete. And with this new quest system, I added another NPC called Fat Philly so the player doesn't get super bored while playing. Fat Philly pretty much just wants to eat every item in the game, so you have to give it to him, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And after you give him all the items in the game, he just disappears. Don't ask why, he just does, okay? But I also added an end screen for Needy Steve whenever you give him the golden spork, so the game pretty much has an ending now. And with all this stuff, I thought it would be a good idea to send it to some people in my Discord server and ask if they wanted to test the game with me. But I didn't really consider the game being multiplayer, so there's a lot of bugs. Look, Hobo John isn't a hobo anymore, he has a home. And after fixing those bugs, I realized that the quests seemed kind of pointless because you don't really get anything from them. So my solution to this was adding badges so that the player can get them whenever they complete a quest. And I got them working in the game really quickly using Roblox's badge system, so all you badge collectors out there can grind the game for all the badges. And the game is almost done, so I cooked up an icon and a thumbnail that definitely didn't take me 3 hours, but I created the game page and then I sent it to my Discord server to test it out with some of you guys. Okay, wow, the game's actually, hey, yo! Oh, now you want to turn away. Now you don't want to look at me. Yeah, look at me in your eyes when you do that. Whoa. Bro, he has no clue what I just said. Oh my gosh. Let me tickle you. Let me tickle you. Tickling him with the tentacle. Whoa. Okay, now no one come. Bro, how is he inside me? There's 2 people inside me. I think I have to keep this in as a feature now. Okay, now this guy has a problem.